Hi there, I'm Mike Gales for Everlast Nutrition. And now usually I would wave to say hello, but that can be a little tricky to do when you have nagging chronic shoulder pain. Forget about bench pressing or any type of overhead presses, as they're next to impossible, because that pain seems to just always be there. And many of you guys that lift really heavy weight have probably had this happen to you at one point or another. And in this video, let's take a look at a rehabilitation routine for chronic shoulder pain and see if we can hopefully speed up your recovery. Now, I'm going to leave a link in the description below for a video that covers heat and ice for an acute injury. But in this particular video, I'm going to assume that you are one of those guys that has lingering shoulder pain that just will not go away. So first off, you need to address the question, why are you having shoulder pain to begin with? Because pain is your body's way of letting you know that something is wrong, and it's probably a good idea to know exactly what that is. Now, the shoulder joint is very complex, and there are quite a few muscles involved in the movement of that joint. And shoulder pain doesn't always necessarily mean that it's from the deltoid muscle, because any of those muscles involved in the joint could be strained, or perhaps experience some sort of tendinitis, or perhaps you have an inflamed bursa, or even arthritis. But the thing that I need you to make note of for this video is that many times shoulder joint pain is caused by inflammation of the joint due to muscle imbalances or weaknesses, or perhaps even improper exercise technique. And you are going to first need to address those issues, or else you're just going to keep re-injuring yourself. Next, I would also advise taking 1 week off of any activities that stress your shoulder. Now, you don't necessarily have to take the week off of training. Just focus on your core, your legs, and give that shoulder joint a bit of a rest. You're better off to miss 1 week than to have to take off an entire year due to nagging shoulder pain. And if you're second guessing any of your exercise technique, then check out our Everlast Nutrition YouTube channel, as most of the exercises with their proper technique can be found there. Okay, so let's move on. So to start out, I'm going to literally warm up by placing a heating pad on my shoulder for 15 to 20 minutes. Now, you could use a hot water bladder or a heated gel pack or whatever you have near you to help warm up the area. But basically, you're looking to warm up the injured area to increase blood flow, decrease some muscle stiffness, and most importantly, increase the elastic properties of your muscles so that they're not extra stiff and don't cause any extra pain. And I'm going to do all the following exercises seated in my chair, and I'm going to make sure that I'm comfortable and that my core is stable. I'm going to attempt 20 repetitions of each individual exercise, and you're going to see that all these strengthening exercises are going to use a limited range of motion as not to further aggravate the joint. And if I feel any significant pain, then I'm going to stop immediately and maybe try again in a day or two. My ultimate goal here is to get those muscles of my shoulder joint working again, strengthen them a little bit, and most importantly, get them some much needed blood flow. My basic plan for my shoulder rehabilitation will look like this. Now, week 1, I'm going to completely rest my shoulder. Now, I may still train, but I'm going to focus on my legs, my core, my cardiovascular system, and I'm going to avoid upper body exercises altogether. I'm also going to apply ice and heat to the injured area 3 times a day to help reduce any inflammation. Now, after the first week, I'm going to resume most of my regular training with a couple of tweaks. One, I'm no longer going to train shoulders, but instead I'm going to do this routine. And next, I'm also going to avoid those particular exercises during my rehab that are causing me pain. So in my case, that's the barbell shoulder press and the barbell bench press. And also during week 2, I'm going to only perform the first portion of this routine twice a week. Then during weeks 3 and 4, I'm going to perform the first and second portions of this routine twice a week. And then finally, week 4, until my shoulder is feeling better, I'm going to perform all the portions of this routine twice a week. And it's only after I'm feeling better that I'll drop this routine and then slowly reincorporate my regular exercises, such as that bench press and shoulder press. Okay, so let's have at it while those muscles are still warm. Now, we will start by stretching your arms on your side until they're about parallel with the floor, and then we're going to simply move those arms up and down. Notice that my movements are not ballistic and that I don't complete the full range of motion. In fact, the movement is very subtle and is done only halfway through the range of motion, and I only move those arms up and down a couple of inches. Next up, with no rest and without putting my arms down, I shoot for 20 repetitions of moving my arms back and forth. Don't forget to breathe and try and keep those movements under control. If it does happen that your arms do get tired, put them down for a split second and then continue as soon as you can. But hopefully your arms are not burnt out or in pain, and we're going to move on to completing 20 arm circles towards the front. Notice again that my arm is not making a huge movement here, but I'm only making small circles moving my arm. Now that that's done, let's do 20 circles going the opposite direction towards the back. Once again, keep control and breathe. You don't want to do anything ballistic here that can cause an injury, so take it nice and easy and keep everything under control. Next up, and this one can be a little trickier than the others, will be 20 repetitions of a forward rotation. This exercise is also going to incorporate your traps as well, and you're going to really feel them burn if you could hold it for a split second at the top of the movement. Try and envision yourself bringing the rear portion of your shoulder towards your ears. And you're going to feel those shoulders burning as they fill with blood and lactic acid. But that's a good thing, and it's what we're going for. Remember, if at any time that your arms feel tired, just rest a moment and continue as soon as you can. Next, we're going to move on to some internal and external rotation of the shoulder. I know that you're going to look like an ancient pharaoh completing this exercise, but you're also going to feel the burn, so it's good. Just try and always keep those arms up as you rotate them, and don't forget to breathe. If you can without putting your arms down, try and outstretch them out in front of you. Keep those arms roughly about the height of your shoulder and move them up and down for 20 repetitions. Remember, don't swing, as you want to use the muscles of your shoulders to raise up and down those arms. Next, once again with your arms outstretched, you're going to move those arms medially and laterally, or in and out for 20 repetitions. I know it's beginning to burn, but try and keep those arms up, and keep them about shoulder height. Next, we're going to move on to more of those little circles, going towards the center of your body. Just keep breathing. Now we're going to do another 20 repetitions, but this time those circles will be moving in the opposite direction towards the outside, and keep those arms up because you're almost done. After you have done all the exercises for 20 reps each, rest 2 minutes and then rinse and repeat this routine 2 more times for the first week or so. And after that first week or so, once you gained a little bit of strength, you're going to immediately finish one round of the first portion of this routine and then move directly on to the second portion, which is going to involve some resistance training. And for this resistance portion, I'm going to use a resistance band. And if you don't have one, then you can pick up something similar to this Everlast resistance training band for somewhere around 15 bucks. Now I'm going to configure the first exercise by placing the band underneath my chair. I'm going to grasp both handles firmly, and then I'm going to do 20 repetitions of some side lateral raises. Just note that once again, I'm not doing the complete range of motion. My movement, like the previous exercises, stays subtle. I keep my elbows slightly bent to keep any pressure off of my elbow joint, and I don't forget to breathe. After I've completed 20 repetitions, I rest 30 seconds. And then I'm going to move on to 20 repetitions of some front raises. I keep the band underneath my chair, and I keep my hands in a pronated position, and I grip the handles firmly. I make sure that my movements are not ballistic, and I keep control of the movement as I complete only that partial range of motion. Now those shoulders may be burning, and rest anytime that you need to. But remember, your goal here is to complete all 20 of those repetitions. Once you have, rest 30 seconds, and then we'll move on to 20 reps of an external rotation. Now you could keep the resistance band underneath your chair like so, but don't give it too much slack, because you want to keep enough tension to provide adequate resistance. An alternate method is that you can place the band on the floor and then step on it and hold it in place with your foot. Whichever method you choose, just notice that the height of my elbow does not change. I keep my elbow joint bent at 90 degrees. The height of my arm doesn't move. The only movement I'm looking for is an external rotation of the arm. If you found that exercise was too strenuous for you, then simply adjust the slack of the band and do 20 repetitions of an external rotation like I'm doing here. Once you have chosen whichever configuration you prefer, rinse and repeat and do 20 repetitions for your other arm. Now I know you may be thinking, hey, but my other shoulder doesn't hurt. But let's keep it that way by strengthening both shoulders equally to avoid any future muscle imbalances and injuries. Another quick note is people are going to ask, how does this 20 rep routine cure any muscle imbalances anyway? Well, what's happening here is we're using the same resistance for all the exercises. Now, certain exercises for certain people are going to be easy because they're strong within that range of motion. They're going to be able to complete those 20 repetitions no problemo. But certain exercises will be more difficult because they have certain muscles that are weaker. Well, those weaker muscles are going to have to work a little harder to complete those 20 repetitions. Over a few weeks of continuously working harder, the strength of those weaker muscles will improve as compared to their stronger counterparts. So long story short, your stronger muscles are going to have an easier time completing those 20 reps, where the weaker ones are going to be a little more challenged and thus stimulated to become a little stronger. Next, we're going to work the posterior muscles of your shoulder by performing 20 band stretches. So set up the band with the appropriate amount of slack to provide the needed resistance, and then pull it apart for 20 repetitions. Keep your arms at about shoulder height, and remember to breathe and not to be ballistic. Rest for 30 seconds before you move on to the next exercise. Most people will have strong internal rotators as opposed to their external rotators, but we're still going to work those internal rotators as well. Place the band behind the back of the chair, then scooch over on your chair to the opposite side of the arm that's going to be working. Keep your elbow pinned against your side as you grasp the handle firmly, and internally rotate for 20 repetitions. Once again, train both sides evenly, because you want to keep your body symmetrical in strength to avoid any imbalances. Once you have finished both sections of this routine, then rest 2 minutes, then start all over for another 2 rounds afterwards. Finally, once you're all done, you will try to complete as much of a full range of motion as you can without having any pain. So go all the way down and laterally raise up those arms as comfortably as you can for 20 repetitions. Then extend your hands out to the front and go all the way up and down for 20 repetitions there. Then we're going to aim for 20 circles to the back, followed by 20 circles to the front. And remember, you only want to do as much of the range of motion as comfortably possible. We're going to finish off by doing a posterior delt stretch and holding each arm for 30 seconds. Then you're going to place both of your hands behind the chair and push your chest outwards to stretch the anterior fibers of your shoulder. And then after you're finished doing your stretches, you're going to literally cool down by placing an ice pack on the injured shoulder for about 20 minutes to control any further inflammation. Now, by using routines like this one, you can help cure any muscle imbalances that will lessen the likelihood of any future injury. And also by increasing blood flow, that's going to help speed up recovery of any current injury that you may have. Just be mindful that if a motion is causing you any significant amount of pain, then just don't do it. You're better off to rest up for a bit and let that joint completely heal before you try and really stress it. But while you're letting it heal, perhaps you can switch the focus of your training to target your cardiovascular system, your core, your legs, so that you can maintain a relatively decent fitness level while your shoulder joint is recuperating. But with any luck, hopefully this routine will have you back hitting those shoulder workouts full steam ahead in just a few short weeks. This has been Mike Gales for Everlast Nutrition, and if you like these videos, then please click below to like and subscribe, as we're constantly posting great tips and new ideas that are going to get you into the absolute greatest shape possible.